Guys, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Marquisa, and today I want to talk about the art of forgiveness. It's gonna be like more so like a story time because I wrote something back last year that I wanted to share with you, and we're just gonna get right into it. If you haven't, go ahead and subscribe, like, and comment, and let's move forward. I want to warn you before starting the video that if you're not too sure about what your triggers are and you were sexually abused as a child, please don't continue because I don't want to trigger anyone. This is my story and I'm sharing with the hopes of helping somebody that hasn't got the proper help to get help. So, when you forgive someone, it's not for them, but it's for yourself. Any negative feelings you could have had, you let go. Now, what happens when you have to forgive yourself? I wrote that in October 24th, 2018. So now we go into my story about trying to forgive myself. This I wrote August 14, 2018. I was on a search for intimacy and found out my biggest problem was being vulnerable. I'm always on guard and I'm still trying to practice being vulnerable. Affectionate, what was that? These walls that were built out of I don't know where were starting to keep me from living my life to the fullest. Here I am, 4 months later, and I've come to grips that there was no rushing this process. What I found out so far was more rewarding than getting this book out as soon as possible. You want to know why? How could I truly help someone transform without really transforming myself? Forgiving seemed like a not so difficult task until that one session. The session where I knew what was going on with me would be life-changing had I continued trying to progress and figure out the root to everything. As many times by now that I had walked up to the building, took the elevator to the second floor, and let the receptionist know who I was there for, this day was different as I sat and waited for the therapist. I seen a box of tissue. Hey, why not? They're free. Grab some. She came and got me. We did our casual "how have you been" small talk, headed to her office. Now keep in mind, I was very intentional about all my sessions. As I worked on my book, I would research so many different things, and I tried to figure out how the trauma from being a child sexual abuse victim could have been impacted. So with both counselors, I didn't hold anything back and I wanted all their knowledge to help me. Back to this particular day. We did our casual catching up, went about the session pretty regular. Towards the end, she asked me how my book was coming along. I remember laughing, like, oh, that thing, it's coming along, I guess. What did that even mean? Well, I had to explain how I was at a roadblock. I didn't feel like I was worthy enough to write the story because as a child, I felt like I did some pretty bad things because of the abuse. I didn't want anybody to remember me, so I couldn't finish. She told me this book was meant to be wrote by me and it would help millions. I felt like she was saying what she was supposed to say. As I reminisced about some of those events when I was younger, I started crying and then I started laughing. We were pretty much reminiscing at this point. Since we already talked about these stories, I said, how can a person be an inspiration and a screw up all at the same time? It was in that moment something changed. As I could see her trying to hold back her tears, she explained to me how I needed to revisit the younger me and forgive myself. Where was the adult supervision? It wasn't my fault, but what could be life-changing for me was forgiving me. I sat on this idea for over a month. How could I forgive myself? And I really didn't forgive me. It's crazy how the universe works. As long as I've been going to counseling, I never shed a tear. My first session, I wanted it to be like the movies. Kick my feet up, close my eyes, and spill all my problems away. This particular day, I laughed and started talking to God like, really? How many times I passed the tissue box and never grabbed anything? I guess you already knew I would need it, so you had me covered. When I grabbed them for what I thought was no reason. I left that day knowing this journey wasn't going to be easy or quick, but would be worth it. My next session with my other counselor was drawn out a little. Our schedules didn't work for a whole month. And keep in mind, I was going weekly, so we had so much to catch up on. As we caught up, I told her about my letter that I was supposed to write but didn't start yet. She advised me, even if I had to continue writing myself, that letter didn't have to be done on the first go round. I needed to hear that. I battled with this letter. I started it, stopped, wrote on, wrote and add on, stopped. In my next meeting, I had to just be honest. I can't forgive myself. I still feel guilty, and the weight of shame wouldn't let me let it go. It wasn't until one day I was watching a video from YouTube, and it was life-changing. Sarah Jake Roberts was at a conference. Her message was to snatch back. I came across this video before, but I didn't feel compelled to watch it. Then my friend shared it with me, asking me to just watch the first 47 seconds because the person, Heather Lindsay, who was holding the conference, shared in the message she needed to hear in those seconds. So since I'm very big on signs, I didn't need any more to know I should watch it. Before that video was over, I was sobbing like a baby. I couldn't believe how much in that moment I would tell my younger self, I'm sorry. I love you, and it wasn't your fault. I forgive you, and I'm sorry I wasn't able to do it sooner. It's like I was able to lay that young girl to rest, and I could continue living intentional. Learning how to live after sexual abuse, you have to be intentional. So, as I was getting ready to record this week's video, a message just came to me. It was like the art of forgiveness. And when I was just thinking about it, I was thinking about it all week. All I knew that I wanted the message to be about was forgiveness. So then I was thinking to myself, like, forgiveness, what should we say? Because if you don't know, forgiveness is hard for a lot of people. But when you forgive someone, you're forgiving them for yourself. Because the weight of that hurt, it only drags you down. And so, what do you do when you have to forgive you? For me, it was such a challenge because I had to forgive the younger Marquisa for something that happened to her that wasn't her fault. I hated my body so bad. And so, how was I supposed to get the proper help when my parents probably didn't know what the signs were? And I actually displayed a lot of signs. When I was younger, I used to be very abusive with my siblings. And I'm not proud to say that, but I just want to let you know what some of the signs were. And when I got in trouble, when I got caught, I got a beating. And I know I didn't like how the beating felt, so I never did it again. But even in an instance, that probably was a moment for my mother to find out why I was so angry. But she didn't know the signs. My teenage years, I want to say, I was pretty, I was a pretty good kid. I mean, I liked to keep myself active, but when I had free time, I wasn't really great with my free time, and maybe, did some things that I shouldn't have did. Adulthood, some of the decisions I made early on probably weren't the best decisions, but then again, it was probably still some more signs. And one thing I could tell you, although I've shared my story numerous occasions, like with different people, because for me, I felt like, every time I shared my story, I released that weight off myself. But when I shared my story, one thing I did come to realize, a lot of people don't ask you, like, how are you now? How are you today? How are you feeling? Have you dealt with the situation? And that's okay, because people don't know how to react, right? And now, in life, I could have chose to be upset with God and say, God, where were you when this happened to me? But life is about choosing to live life on the high side or live life on the why me side. And I know for a fact, I was brought into this world on assignment. The things that happened to me weren't by mistake. You know, I would be an overcomer. I would be a survivor. I would be a thriver, and I would share my story with hopes to help somebody else. I could do these YouTube videos. I could do this Mental Health Monday and really help people. So me going back to school for psychology, there was no mistake there. Like, that was intentional. Like, I had been running from my calling for so long. What are the signs? I told you guys what the signs were when I was younger. What are the steps to healing? Being intentional, listening to your body and what your body needs. And when I say listening to your body and what your body needs, if you need rest, get some rest. If you need to slow down, slow down. Trust me, whatever it is that sometimes I kept myself really, really, really busy. And when I look back at that, I just was running in circles. Like, I got nothing done. I just was really busy avoiding something. And that was how I felt. So slow down, listen to yourself, practice self-care, which is very important. Keep positive people around you. Keeping positive people around you is really important, because imagine when you're at a low in life and then you have one negative person, two negative people, three negative, four, I don't know, however many people you like to have in your crew. But that is not going to help you. That's only going to help bring you down. And it's okay to cut family off if you have to, because everybody's dealing with their own demons. And where you're at in life, sometimes you can't take on people's problems. And you got to be okay with releasing yourself from people so that you can live your life the best way that you can live. We have to be intentional about protecting our peace. So, Mom, if you guys enjoyed this video, go ahead, subscribe, share it, because you never know who you're helping. Share it, and just come back for Mental Health Mondays. Also, if there's something that you would like me to hit on, leave it in the comment section. That's it. Like I said, if you haven't already, go ahead, subscribe, like, and comment, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you.